I was saying, but before I pray, like, why would you do this? Well, the reality is, what we don't say says something. And the church has to be the place where we go to find out what is true, what is safe, what is best, what does God say about certain things. And when we don't talk about these things, I talk with parents over and over and over again, and it's like, okay, now what? And after something happens, you have to answer two questions. Well, if all of this stuff was so important, why didn't you tell me? And why is what you're telling me now different than what I heard first? Because I heard it different at my school. I see it different on TV. I see it different on social media. And what you're telling me is different than what I heard first. So if it was so important, why didn't you tell me? If we were all walking around at the beach and there was broken glass, wouldn't you tell me I was going to step in it? Like, wouldn't you protect me? Like, because that's what love is. Love is saying something that might sting in a moment but helps you for a lifetime. So I'm just so grateful that you're here, but let's pray and let's get started. Heavenly Father, I just thank you that you're good. And God, I just pray that you open our eyes and our ears to both the reality of what we're going to talk about, but God, I just pray for divine protection over not only the kids, but the parents in the room. God, we can't lead anyone anywhere where we're not going ourselves. So God, I just pray that you convict and correct us in the places that you need to. Allow us to be the example that we need to be, not only doing the right things, but doing the right things the right way. We love you, Jesus, and we pray this all in your name. Amen. So it's so interesting that where'd you go? There you are. I was like, you said something about if I were the devil. Well, I'm going to start with, I asked, ChatGPT asked, if I was the devil, how would I destroy kids and their families? How would I destroy the nuclear home? It says this: if I was the devil, I wouldn't come with fangs and fire. I would come with a glowing screen. I would put a device in every child's hand and whisper, "This is freedom," while quietly enslaving them to comparison, distraction, and addiction. I would normalize pornography so that lust feels like love and bodies become commodities. I'd fill feeds with curated images so that parents are too busy strolling to disciple and kids are too ashamed to confess. I'd make predators look like friends and shame look like silence. I wouldn't need to break families with violence. I would erode them with pixels, one swipe at a time. Do you realize our kids are on their phones 70% more than we are in their face? So who's discipling our kids? So what they see matters. And you need to know what they see. And this is important because I'll just share my story. Because my story, it's nuanced and complicated, but essentially it's everybody's story. It's like I grew up with something I didn't have. I didn't grow up with a dad. And because I didn't grow up with a dad, I had a mom that was trying really hard to be my mom and my dad. And because of that, she was working all the time, and she was amazing. She is amazing. She's incredible. My mom's an incredible woman. But my mom was trying so hard to provide for me and protect me that I didn't have the guidelines and the guardrails that I needed. And because I didn't have the guidelines and the guardrails I needed, there was an enemy that was looking to destroy me. And when I was 13 years old, I saw pornography for the first time. I'd never had a conversation about sex. I'd never had a conversation about intimacy, relationships, anything like that. And then what I saw, it confused me and it interested me. And I didn't know what to do with that. And it's so important for us to say, in this world, like the stuff that was on, in behind walls and in places we would never walk in, those things are on social media and cable TV. Like, this is the reality we live in. You don't have to look for it, it's looking for you. So it's not a matter of if you see it, it's when you see it. And the standard of what it is, the Bible, we get this word pornography, we get it from porneia, It's a word from the Greek New Testament. It's talking about sexual immorality, anything that functions outside of what the Bible says is good, true, and pure. So if I don't start there and understand that is my standard, and anything outside of that is not good for me, it's not good for me as a 12-year-old, it's not good for me as a 50-year-old. It's not good for me. And what I consume is discipling me. It's shaping how I see myself. It's shaping how I see the world. It's shaping how I live my life. And what the enemy wants to do, he wants to chip away at your conscience so that you compromise. And if there's compromise in any area of your life, it's going to lead to compromise in every area of your life. And I'm not going to sit here spending my entire time talking about that specific thing, but it is the thing that's shaping our culture. So for me, that happened, and my life was a train wreck until I met Jesus. And I love that God doesn't just save us from something, he saves us for something. And it's almost like, when Tom Brady went and played for the Bucks, and they played the Patriots, he probably knew a lot of the plays. So I love that I'm playing on the right team, and I know some stuff that's detrimental to the enemy, and I get to kick him in the face. So I love that. But let's talk about digital media. So digital media or technology, it's not evil, it's amoral, just like money. It's neutral. It's not what is in your hand, it's what you do with what is in your hand. It's important to understand. So we got to be honest with that. So technology is not evil, and God has allowed us to use it for tremendous good. It gives us access to knowledge. We're the most connected generation in the history of time. But that misappropriated, it can lead to us being the most disconnected generation in the history of time. So never before have we had this ability to learn and create and grow at a touch of a button, connection and creativity. Students can connect globally and share their voices. I posted one video on TikTok and reached 3.7 million people in 24 hours. Out of that wasn't just random people. Those are real people. And 1,000 of those people gave their life to Jesus. And that happened online in 24 hours. So that's the good that can come from social media. There's also a harmful side. There's a lot of kingdom opportunity. There's also the reality of this harmful side. So numbers tell the story. So pornography exposure, average age of exposure used to be 11, and today it's 8 years old. And the reason that is because when it was around 11 or 13, it was generally happening on a smartphone. But post-COVID, because of the implementation of smart devices in schools, well, these kids are using unprotected devices, and it's not because they're looking for it. It's because the algorithm is hunting them. So you put in something for a biology project, and you find something that you were never looking for. 84% of the time when people are exposed to it, specifically kids, 84% of the time, it's secondhand exposure, meaning that they were on a device that was unprotected, and they were looking for something that was not inappropriate, but something inappropriate found them. Or they were at a place where you thought they were safe, but someone showed them something they shouldn't see. So 84% of the time, that's the case. And then we think about consumption. Well, I did a project with Barna, so a research organization, and the demographic that they focused on was guys and girls 18 to 25, and specifically followers of Jesus, or rather, they identified people as people who attended church at a minimum of one time a month, which we would know that does not necessarily mean that you're a follower of Jesus. But out of that poll, they polled 3,500 different churches, and what they found was 84% of boys 18 to 25 and 67% of girls 18 to 25 was watching it at least once a month. And these are not secular sources. These are people who would identify as Christians. And we know that data is only good as people are honest. So my assumption is always worse than what data says. So that's the reality with that. And then there's a predatory reality that is online in one Michigan school. A survey of 716 students, 25% of those students admitted that they had been attempted to be inappropriately engaged online. That's why it's so important that we have this conversation, because there is an enemy that wants to kill, steal, and destroy you and your kids. There is an enemy that's after you. So we have to protect them. And then screen time. 13 to 17-year-olds spend an average of 7.5 hours on their screens outside of school. It's like, do you know what your screen time is? Like, it's really easy to find, and sometimes it's very convicting to me. And there's this really great book. It's called The Master Plan of Evangelism. Robert E. Coleman wrote it, and he has a quote in there that I love. He says that most people are not looking for an explanation. They're looking for a demonstration. So it's in how we live our lives, how we engage with technology. It demonstrates something to our children, meaning that are we on our phones at the dinner table? Like, do we have a day where we take a break off of tech? When you're having a conversation with me, am I always on my phone? It's convicting to me because sometimes those answers are yes. Because if we do that, we are sending a message. So again, you can't be obedient or safe until you're aware. So we have to be aware of what we're doing. So one way is to manage your screen time. Say, okay, when I eclipse this amount of screen time, or our kids, like, this is how much screen time you're going to have a day. That's smart. It's healthy. And then addiction. 1 in 3 teens say that they feel addicted to their phones. And I think, like, addiction and trauma, these have become words that kind of you throw around pretty freely. But the reality is, it is a real addiction. Like, you can look at a CT scan of a brain that has been having a dopamine hit in a certain way, and there's a track. It's like if we went out into a field and I drove a four-wheeler through this track over and over and over again, guess what? The next time you go out there, where are you driving? You don't think about it. You go on the track. Your thoughts are the same way. So when you train your thoughts, when I get bored, I scroll on my phone. Or if I feel nervous, I scroll on my phone. Or if I feel upset, I scroll on my phone. Well, those scrolling, you're scrolling, you're seeing something, and what you're seeing is medicating something or suppressing something, and it's a learned behavior. And all of a sudden, I'm going to need more of what's medicating me or suppressing, what's going on. I'm going to need more of it. Like, I used to be able to drink a half a cup of coffee and feel jacked up, but I got 4 young kids, and that's just not the case anymore. So I need a little more. So it's like your body is brilliant regarding adaptation, but so is your mind. And once you feed it, it desires more of. So what you consume matters. And then mental health, depression and anxiety is through the roof. Best-selling book in the world is Jonathan Haidt, Anxious Generation, and he talks about over and over again, there's this disconnect from reality and a lack of play outside because there's an addiction to technology. And technology, again, not a bad thing. But when it starts separating me from one-on-one relationships and living the life that I was created to live and doing the things that make me healthy, then it becomes problematic. And then again, man, I was sharing this with you. This breaks my heart the worst. Because if Satan sees a window, if your window is cracked in your home, he's going to jump through it. And what that looks like online. And again, I don't want to scare you, but I want to just provide a reality of what's going on. And again, a lot of people ask, hey, are you going to say anything crazy? This will probably be the most extreme thing that I say. So regarding sextortion, meaning that there are criminals that pretend to be members of the opposite sex, and they have a cute photo, and they start engaging with your child. And then what happens is they'll say, hey, send me an inappropriate photo. And then once they do, okay, got you. This isn't actually who you think it is. I'm in a different place, and if you don't give me X amount of dollars right now, I'm going to send this photo to all of your family and all of your friends. This has happened hundreds and thousands of times. But what it leads to is self-harm. This year, 884 people, predominantly little boys, have ended their life. Since 2023, in America, this has happened 7,000 times. Do you feel the weight of that? So the enemy is after our kids. And then, again, I'm going to fly past this because it's a lot of numbers. But pornography, it's not a private struggle. And this just blows my mind. So everybody familiar with Netflix? Come on. Yes, okay. It wasn't a rhetorical question. So Netflix, Disney, NBA. If you add the revenue from all of those together, it equates to $153 billion. So much money. But there's one industry that trumps it by $19 billion. The porn industry. In America, 100 million unique users on one website per day. It's so prevalent in our country that during the last presidential campaign, the last day before the last votes went in 7 swing states, there were ads ran on that website saying, hey, if you don't vote a certain way, you're going to lose access to this website. Why would you do that? Unfortunately, it was good strategy. It's evil. It's wrong. But the fact it's evil that they did that. But the problem is that they could. The problem is that it was a good idea because you could reach 100 million unique users per day. That's how much influence it has on our culture, is what I'm trying to share with you. And then OnlyFans. So it's this content creation where Instagram and Facebook, and then TikTok and Snapchat and a few other places, people started making money. Your content was being monetized and you're making money. There's content creators, and that's now a common career path. A lot of people do that. But that was actually born from the porn industry. This was happening in the porn industry 10 years ago. And right now, OnlyFans is exploding. There's 3.78 million women and nearly 750,000 men that create content with regularity. And the most discouraging and sad statistic regarding consumers, 89% of consumers of the content on those websites are married. It's not a single person's issue. And what it contributes to, we see in 3 major law firms accumulated this data from 2022 to 2024, 56% of marriages report pornography consumption being the thing that's catalytic in the divorce. It's robbing us of 2-parent homes. And we see where fatherlessness contributes to many of the things we would say, hey, these are the most detrimental things in culture today. And then it's just, the fact that it's just not harmless, and it's so prevalent that we have to talk about it in a way that, hey, this is detrimental, and it's destructive, and it's happening a lot, and it's shaping our culture. And if we don't have that conversation, then people are going to think what I thought. What's the big deal? And when you don't count the cost, you're always going to pay more than you will you'll ever think. And then the brain science behind this just blows my mind. So when you consume this, there's a part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex. Your prefrontal cortex is a part of the brain that it regulates your emotions and it controls impulse control. And that's the part of the brain that's damaged. But the scary thing is your prefrontal cortex is not fully developed until you're 25 years old. So meaning that the part of your brain that regulates your emotions and allows you to execute resilience, well, it's only developed if average age of exposure is around 8 years old. It's only 40 to 50% developed at that point. And it's damaging that part of the brain. So what it's doing, it's setting the stage for addiction. So what does that look like in reality? Depression, eating disorders, dysfunction. Because it doesn't allow me, like where Paul talks about in Romans 7, why do I do the things I don't want to do and struggle to do the things I do? We already are in a battle, but it makes it more difficult to be resilient. It creates a craving for novelty. It eradicates a desire for real intimacy, and it wires the brain for compulsion, meaning that it creates just a playbook for you to be addicted to any and everything. And what does it do to our heart? Well, it warps God's design. It reduces people to objects. It fuels trafficking. And it creates false expectations that erode marriages before they even begin. Jesus says this, the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. So what fills our eyes fills our heart. And what overflows from our heart is the most important thing. The Bible over and over again tells us Jeremiah tells us that our hearts are deceitful and wicked. But then God gives us a new heart and a new way and a new plan and a new purpose. But we're still in this wrestle. And it's not that we can't trust our gut or trust our heart. We shouldn't most of the time, but what we can do is inform it. And what we inform it with dictates how we live our life. Because what is in us will overflow from us. So that's essentially that biblical framework where Romans 12:2 talks about do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So the pattern of this world is distraction over devotion, and comparison over contentment, and pornography over purity, and secrets over safety. But the way of Jesus is renewal, transformation, freedom. See, parents, your job is not just to filter what is consumed. It's the disciple. It's the disciple. Here's the reality of the world. There's this really great book, Good Book, Bad Pictures. It's written from 4 to 7-year-olds. And the overarching theme is good for me and good for every person in this room. Hey, in this world, there are bad pictures that you will see. Private parts are private, and you should not see them on TV or magazines or anywhere else. If you see them in the same way, if you're hurt, what do? You come running to Dad. If you're scared, what do? You come running to Dad. If you want Cheetos, what do? You come running to Dad. So in the same way, if you see something that I told you that you should not see that is bad for you, don't do what Adam and Eve did in the garden, hide and cover it up. Come to Dad. Because if you don't have that conversation, and if you're not really careful, because there's going to come a time in your life, and maybe it's already happened, that your kid comes to you and tells you something that just blows your socks off. And you want to run around the house and scream or go choke somebody out, But we have to, what I like to do, I like to use the formula, pause, pray, ponder. Pause, pray, ponder. And this is important, especially if your kid comes to you and says, hey, my friend showed me this. Or I was watching YouTube and this video popped up. Well, praise God that we live in a world where we can have conversations like this, but the reality is there is a broken world where maybe this has happened to someone, and I'm so sorry if this happened to you or someone close to you, but we live in a world where a conversation could be like, hey, such and such touched me, or showed me something. And if that happens and they come to you and you freak out, they are never going to bring information like that to you again. How you respond to what they say is going to set the stage for everything they bring to you next. So if you want to freak out, don't. Take 5. But sit with them and listen. Because how you respond to that is so important. Because if you create a space where no question is off limits, then they will bring you all the questions. That's why a 7-year-old is going to ask you 6 billion questions. But the moment that I start telling him, hey, don't ask me that, or even worse, I stop listening to him because I'm on my phone, he's going to stop asking those questions. And 2 things are going to happen. Either someone you don't want him to ask that question to you is going to give him an answer, or he's going to go exploring the internet by himself, and he's going to find the answer. And he's going to find something that you don't want him to see, or you don't want her to see. So how you respond to that, so important. And then to the kids, to the students in the room, it's like your calling is not just to avoid the bad things. It's to steward technology. It's not a bad thing, but what you do with it matters. So I was sharing with him, man, if like that, either the algorithm is training you or you're training it. So what does that mean? On all the websites, it looks practically different. That's why if you're going to be on a social media platform, it is your due diligence to understand how to use it. Because you're not just consuming it. Does anyone know what cookies is? Not Oreos. Those are good. But what I'm talking about, if you go to any website, do you accept cookies? The yes is already pre-selected. Do you know what that means? That means, can I take your information and then solicit you things based on that information? That's what that means. So every time you press yes, your information is taken and it's put somewhere so the algorithm can show you things based on who you are and what you consume. But it never just shows you, it never shows you one mini Oreo. It's going to show you the double stuff. Because that's how it works. Buy one, get one free, right? It sounds good, but do you really need to? I mean, that's the way that the world works. So it's so important for us to understand this stuff. And, man, I just want to give us just a little checklist of, I titled it, No Digital Secrets. So how do I help my kids respond to stuff online and maybe people trying to mess with them? So this is getting, pretty practical. So give them a process. Give them a process. So teach them this. Put it down and tell someone. If you see something you don't want to see, or you shouldn't see, put it down and tell someone. And I say this often, no digital secrets. If anyone asks to keep an online secret, well, that's a red flag. If anyone tells your kid, hey, don't tell anyone about this, well, teach them that if someone says that to you, that's not okay. This sounds simple, but again, I sit in rooms all the time having conversations I don't want to have. So I need to understand, hey, if someone's saying, hey, keep this a secret, that's a red flag. And where do we bring red flags? To the referee. Who's the referee? Mom and dad. So tell somebody. And then give them practice. So you can role play with kids. Like, hey, if it's a good way to learn how to preach. Like, this is how I learned how to preach or how to deal with people in the lobby. It's like, hey, here is this scenario. Like, Aaron's going to come up to me and ask me about predestination, and I can't go get another pastor. I got to answer the question. So Ask your kids, hey, if someone says this to you, what would you do? Like, don't make it a stressful situation, but hey, what would you do if this happened? Or what if someone showed you this? What would you do? Or what if someone asked you to do this? What would you say? How would you respond? And it seems like, why would we need to do this? Unfortunately, this is the world that we live in, and this is how we protect our kids. This is our due diligence as parents to protect and provide for our kids. Then also give them permission. Tell your kids, if they see something online, make them understand. If you see something bad, that does not make you bad. Are you with me? Because what do they feel? Shame. And what is the answer to shame? It being spoken. Shame cannot exist being spoken. Shame leads us to hide. So if you see something, say something. Tell them they won't get in trouble, that they're not bad, that you'll be proud of them if you tell me. No shame, no secrets. Normalize it. Celebrate their honesty. Build trust. Because shame can be silenced, but a silence is a predator's playground. Think about every secret that you've ever kept. Did it do you any good? No. That's the enemy's plan for your life. So what are we to do? So we need to know that this industry, the porn industry, it's a $172 billion empire, bigger than Netflix, Disney, and the NFL all combined, and know that there are people literally hunting kids online. 1 out of 4 kids have been approached in some way, and knowing that technology disciples you, and every click is shaping who you are. And feel the urgency that this is the front line of discipleship. And we can feel the hope that Jesus sets captives free, that he can rewire anything that is broken. But at the same time, we ourselves, we can only be as free as we're willing to be honest. You have to lead with that. What does that look like in your home? For me, if I've had a long day and I lose my temper and I say something I shouldn't have said, or if my tone is not a way that honors my wife, in front of my kids, I apologize to both my wife and my kids. Because what is that teaching them? I'm not perfect, but when I mess up, I own it. That teaches such a powerful message. And then I got to feel the calling that you've been placed in here, in the middle of this time and place where you're called to disciple your kids. You're called to it. Here and now. And because when you disciple them and you equip them, well, they have the power to be resilient. They can be the one to say, hey, I don't look at that stuff. Or you can't talk to me like that. Or I'm not going here. Or I don't eat ice cream. Whatever it is. I can say, hey, me and my family, we don't live this way. And maybe they'll ask why. And then you get to ask them if they know Jesus. And then what do? We take an audit. We walk through a checklist. And what I mean about that is if you don't have an understanding of how you spend your time and what you look at online, well, that's problematic. Like, take inventory of your life. Take inventory of your life. Write it down. Take inventory of your life. Make a checklist. And then set boundaries. Simple things like rules in our house. We don't bring phones in the bedroom. But how can I model that? Well, mom and dad. Only loophole is if we've got a baby still. So if she's in the rocking chair feeding baby, then she can do whatever she wants. Mama can do whatever she wants. That's the rule in our house. But we got to set the tone. It's like, hey, we don't bring phones to the table because I care about one-on-one conversations. Because again, at the end of the day, man, and this was hard for me to learn. Because if you grew up with any kind of mom or dad wound of any kind, and fatherlessness and motherlessness, it comes in all shapes and sizes, and it's very nuanced. But at the end of the day, if you didn't receive what you needed, well, attachment theory talks about that my understanding emotionally, well, it's tied to I'm needy in the places where I have unmet needs. And what my boys need are not stuff. They don't need another trip to the store or whatever it might be. All those things are great and they're not bad, but the thing he needs most from me is to sit on the floor and look him in the eye. The greatest present that you can give your kids is your presence. And if you've ever thought about yourself in a way where, man, what could I offer? Who am I? Well, I've certainly sat there. And, if just a quick nugget from premarital counseling is that the way that you naturally love your spouse probably is the way that you receive love, but your spouse doesn't receive love the way that you did. And God made it difficult for a reason. In that he wants you to be shaped by her for his glory, and vice versa. So with my wife, she wanted quality time. And quality time to me went, well, a date, a movie, a gift, a quality date, a quality dinner. Because I didn't think I had much to offer. But she grew up in a secure home where her mom and dad spent a lot of time with her. And she never was worried about anyone coming home or anyone not showing up at her events or them not spending quality time with her. So she began to crave quality time, not stuff, not words, but presence. And when she asked that of me, I didn't know how to give it. And there's times in your life where people will love you in a way where you see the love of God in them and then you receive it. And I'm just saying to you, at the end of the day, we got to give our kids the attention they need or they're going to get it somewhere else. Like, that's the thing that they need so bad. And then what does it look like to have accountability? Like, we can have filters on our phones as we should. And I'm going to give you some great resources. So if you want to write these down, I would say Protect Young Eyes for parents. So they have blogs that come out multiple times a week. They talk about any and everything. Talk about how to lock down a kid's phone, what to talk about, how to navigate through issues. Protect Young Eyes is incredible. And then for adults to have on your phone, Covenant Eyes. So it's a VPN. So you have an accountability partner where there's certain things that you can't look at. And if you search for them, your accountability partner will get notified, and then you'll have to have a conversation, hopefully a productive one. And then for kids, there's this really great technology. It's called Bark. It's bark.org. And bark.org is incredible because what it does is you get to facilitate what they see. And any app that they're on, any conversations that they're having, Bark is monitoring it. And it's not just looking for them looking at stuff they shouldn't see. It notifies you if there's any talk about bullying, any discussion of self-harm, them talking in a way that's way outside of who that algorithm has learned them to be. And what it allows you to do is to have a conversation, not an accusation. Because sometimes you can say, hey, you know that I saw this. What do you have to say for yourself? More often than not, that's not beneficial. But if there's a cadence or a regular occurrence of, hey, Did you see anything online that you shouldn't have seen lately? Did you have anybody at school show you anything that you wish you wouldn't have seen, or you have any questions about, or stuff you want to talk about? Or maybe did a teacher say anything that made you feel uncomfortable, or said something that you were curious about? Do you have any questions? And those questions can be curated based on information that you have. Because when you ask them a question, you invite them to voluntarily give you information. What you're doing is you're setting a runway for them to have really open, honest, transparent conversation with you for the rest of your life. And that's the hope. That's how we protect them. And then, just asking, like, do we teach our kids to just live with no digital secrets? Like, do we have someone in our life that say, hey, you shouldn't have posted that? Everybody needs that. What were you thinking when you said that? I saw that comment you left on their page. Or have you, what have you been looking at online? You seen anything that, messed you up lately? It sounds crazy, but what if we had conversations like that? How much healthier would we be if this was just normal? I mean, it's good to ask, hey, how's your heart? It's a good question. But how's your eyes? How's your eyes doing? And I think it's so important for us to understand. It's like, man, we live in an age that technology is a great thing, that we can learn so much so quick. We can connect with so many people so far away. We can do things faster and better than we ever could. And, it's up for discussion. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It can be a fun thing sometimes. But we also live in an age where the world has access to us and our kids. Are we willing to have the hard conversations so that we protect them? So that's the big question. So we have to disciple our kids in that way. And kids, we have to commit to not keeping secrets. And if we see something we shouldn't have seen, we have to tell somebody. And technology is a tool that will either disciple you into distraction or disciple you into devotion. And we can't let the world write the script for our mind. We have to let Christ transform it. We have to be transformed, not conformed. It's so important. And I just want to spend a few minutes, if it's all right with you, if I can, if you have an answer, if you have a question, I'll do my very best to answer any questions you might have. And if no one has any questions, I can tell you, some questions that I get often, but there's no bad questions. And also, I can't promise that I'll have, the answer to everything, but maybe I can point you to a resource or a person that will. Young man, you have a question?
I do not.
Okay.
You just talk about when you told me at lunch about the algorithm, where that was my instinct. If I see something that's bugging, get out of there. And you were talking about.
Oh yeah. So talking about either you can train the algorithm or the algorithm will train you, and then I think I was touching on it and I kind of flew past it. But like, let's say on Instagram, if you see a video that you're like, I don't want to watch this, or maybe I'm offended by this, the instinct is just to swipe on by it. But if you watched it for 3 seconds or more, the algorithm is taking note that this must be something you want to see, and I'm going to show you more of it. So the way to combat that, the way to not allow the algorithm to teach you, you're going to teach it, is you have to hold down on it, and have to, hey, I'm not interested. Every platform has a different wording or different functionality, but on every platform, you can say, hey, I'm not interested in this. I don't like this. I don't want to see this. Please block this. Get this away from me. And if you do that, what begins to happen is your feed is feeding you more of what you want to see and not feeding you what you don't want to see. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Oh, he's got a big old microphone right there.
Okay. And I hate when this happens because it's always when my stomach hurts and I feel like I'm going to throw up and I'm like, yep, I got to tell them. Okay, so this is for the young ones, kids. I mean, even that little one right there, if she has some sort of like digital platform of any kind. But for your future reference, kids, and y'all might already know this, and this is also good for adults too if you're ever going to apply somewhere, they nowadays have a program where it is a social media background check or a social media screening process, which can be conducted by an in-house human resource or security teams or any specialized third party. And when you apply, you give them your information. I mean, I don't know if y'all have done I'm pretty sure y'all have done practices, but you'll give them your name, first and last name, birthday, and all that. And just with that alone, they can do so much research on you. And what they're looking for is online behavior from posts and comments, even the likes, that assesses the candidate's digital presence and conduct. And they do that because they want to see if you're a good fit for their company, to see if the candidate's personal values align with the company's values and cultures. So it's different for us, or I guess when I say us, I mean adults that didn't have such a thorough check behind, because we could hide things if we wanted to, and if we didn't want people to know something about us. But now they can even at an age 7, they can go backtrack. If you bullied somebody online, you think you can hide behind a screen, but you can't. Back in the day, we could, if you were talking about somebody, people would find out and then they'd come up to you and they'd be like, hey, you have something to say it to my face. So even if you think you're hiding behind a screen, you're not. So I just wanted to instill that in the younger folks to really think about what you're doing online, because it's not secret. It really isn't. And it's exposed out there. So if you like they were saying, if it comes to just bring it to the light, you can't hide nothing. It'll eventually haunt you. So every choice you make in life, even as someone that's 7 years old, 13, 25, you got to be careful with your choices because they have consequences, and consequences aren't always a negative thing. You can make good choices and have good consequences. So anyways, I just wanted you guys to know that because I was shocked how far back they can really look you up. So just want you guys to know how important your presence is, and we've always taught y'all to be the light, so just be the light on the internet as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say to kind of the double tap on that, I would say, number one, the Bible tells us that whatever is in the dark is going to be brought to light anyway. And we live in a day and time where, what does bullying look like? What does like antagonistic people look like? Well, you bless you. You look like you can, bless you again. You looks like you could hide behind, one more time. Okay. No, you're good. You're good. You're good. But what it looks like is, who is the antagonist on social media? Well, the antagonist on social media often has a meme for a photo and an obscure username, and they do that because you believe that there's no consequence behind your actions. But guess what? There's an IP address that's traceable back to you. And at the end of the day, I mean, that's the way that so much coercion and manipulation happens. It's because people are hiding behind what they believe to be a facade or a camouflage, but they're actually seen. So that's a really good point. Anybody? Questions? Concerns? Yeah. 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 So this it's called deep fake is what it's called, and we live in a day and time where it there's people that can take a normal picture that's not inappropriate and they can superimpose it onto something and use that to manipulate you, and it's just and it's sad, and there's not a lot of legislation around that. I was at Capitol Hill 5 years ago, and we were celebrating the fact that we were starting to get some traction regarding age verification. So right now in 27 states, there's age verification of some stance where there's a need or a requirement for age verification, and what that means is in some states, like in Texas, there's certain sites that you can't get to that has certain content that you don't want kids to see, and it requires a government issued ID to get on the site. And earlier this year, Free Speech Coalition sued the state of Texas, saying that was an infringement on your First Amendment rights, which, if you know what the First Amendment is, that makes zero sense. But it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court said, hey, we found that it's actually negligent that there's not age verification. Why? Well, because in the same way that alcohol and tobacco and many other things have been proven to be damaging to children to a certain age, well, as an adult, hey, I want you to know this is dangerous, but you've got freedom to do it. To a kid, they don't have the development to make good decisions for themselves. I mean, if you let your kids make dinner, I mean, you would see what would happen. So we need government to implement policy, and it went to the Supreme Court, and the judge says, hey, there's no reason that this shouldn't be governed because it's been proven neurologically to be damaging to kids. So if it's going to be in the public space, it has to have legislation around it, and the Supreme Court upheld it, and then now it stands ready to be implemented nationwide, hopefully. That's my hope. But to your point around deepfake, well, AI is moving faster than policy that exists. And there's conversations about it. But 5 years ago, when we were in a room saying, hey, we need to figure out age verification, we need to get this across the finish line. What do we need to do? And we decided, hey, let's just, it was very conservative, very one-sided. And we're saying, hey, let's just make it bipartisan. Who wants to protect kids? Everybody? Great. So let's write it however we need to write it to get it across the finish line. So that was a good thing. But in the same conversation, they're saying there's this thing called a VPN hub. And what it was is the primary website that functions in the porn industry, it had an app called VPN Hub that was free that you could download, and it would bypass any kind of state-issued VPN, meaning that if there was a blocker on that website, if you downloaded that, you could bypass it. And that was 5 years ago, and guess what? It was rated 4 and up. And no one that was sitting in the chairs that I was talking to knew that. Which is sad, but it's reality. So does the government have your kid's best interest? No. Do you remember the food pyramid? 12 servings of bread and grains? I mean, my little Judah, his birthday's tomorrow, but man, he eats about 8 pieces of buttered toast in the morning. So he would be all about that. But the food pyramid, well, the reason behind it was who are the funders? General Mills. What does General Mills produce? Grains. But what does that create? It creates kids who are struggling with their insulin. Why? Because they consume mass quantities of bread. What does bread do? When it metabolizes in your bloodstream, it turns to sugar. So a piece of bread and a lump of sugar are not that different in your body. So all of a sudden, there's people wrestling with pre-diabetics and their kids, and guess what? That equates to medicine. So I mean, this is a different talk, but I'm telling you, the world is not for you or for your kids. So that's the point. So how can we guard our kids? We've got to equip them with knowledge. You can't fight what you don't know that's there. Yes, ma'am. Well, I would say this. I'm going to say this, and this is going to be unpopular if you're for it. Very unpopular. But hey, I'm a dad, so I'm put my dad hat on. Any app that is built on you can send a picture and it disappears is a terrible thing. What's the purpose of that? Deception. So, why would you have that? Like, what is the point of it? Deception. There's nothing good that's going to come from that. Like, are there people there that could be won from Christ? Yeah. But you probably can find them somewhere else. If you want to send someone a picture, iPhone works real good. So I would just say, for me, there's nothing that I'm against more than Snapchat, because there's nothing good that's ever came from it. Like, are there people there like making a living off of creating content on there? Sure, but maybe they should be doing something else. So I would just say that I don't have anything good to say about Snapchat. Because, I mean, if you look at where manipulation and coercion happens, like Instagram and Facebook really low on the totem pole. Like, where this stuff happens is Snapchat and Roblox. Like, that's where this stuff happens. Yeah, I mean, the problem with Roblox is that when you make a friend with someone, that you can have a private game, and then you have a private conversation, and then all of a sudden you're having a private conversation with a person that you don't know, and that person is going to ask you personal questions, and then that ends up there's someone knocking on your door that's 20 years older than your kid, and that's not me being weird. That's me telling you, look it up. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're going down quite a road in this conversation. So I just want you to know, anything that you're worried about me saying has already been said. So, but yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. I mean, that's where grooming takes place. So I mean, that's where grooming takes place, because essentially what it's doing is, like, if I can chip away at you, what it does is, well, if it's like, well, if I can get you to say yes to this and get you to trust me with this, then you'll say yes to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And that's how this stuff happens. Yeah. Amen. Bring her up here. Yeah, but she's right. I mean, the conversations that I had, like, in Groover yesterday, were talking about, a lot of this stuff. And my friend Doug Crawford from Protect Young Eyes, he does a lot of the presentations there, and we do some stuff together. And everything that you're saying is 100% true, and that's what he spent an hour talking about. He's like, hey, this is what is happening with regularity every single day. And again, since you've already opened a can, like, I love Aaron, so I think he'll have me back maybe, but I'm just going to say it. So again, the double tap on what I said earlier, what she's saying is happened this year 113,000 times. That's been reported. How many times has not been reported? I don't know. This year, that has happened Sextortion has happened, manipulation has happened, and it's led to 7,000 suicides of kids since 2023. And we're saying, like, hey, should we talk about this stuff? The world is screaming about this stuff. Like, you take every sport that you're a fan of and you add it together, and the revenue doesn't even come close. Why doesn't the revenue does not even come close? Because there's not even a fraction of people watching it that's watching porn. And porn is discipling people. If you believe a person is a product, then you've got no conscience not using them. Around 80 to 90% of it has violence. Like I was sharing with you, I shared this at a youth conference that I preached at in Colorado Springs 2 weeks ago, and 250 kids hid their face at the altar. Anybody know who Forrest Frank is? Come on. You know who Forrest Frank is. So Forrest Frank shared, hey, I started watching porn when I was around 12 or 13 years old. I watched it all through my teens, but I stayed a virgin. And in my head, and really through my lips, I would have said I was pure. And then on his wedding night, him and his wife were both a virgin. Then all of a sudden, on his wedding night, he tries to do something aggressive and weird to his wife. And his wife is like, hey, what are you doing? Where did you learn that? What are you doing? And they both just wept and wept and wept. And he says, I know exactly where I learned that. Because what it's teaching us has nothing to do with what the Bible tells us sex is. It's not real. I've been in that world. It's fake and phony and broken and sad and evil. And it's nothing that you want to put in your mind or your heart. And it's certainly not anything that you want to do to someone you love. Like, that's the reality we live in. Like a Christian music superstar saying, hey, I thought I was okay, but I wasn't. And if we're not careful, that can be us. That's why we're talking about 50% of the divorce that happens in America is because of pornography. I deal with young adults all the time. They're struggling with their marriage because they thought that what I saw was going to be real, and all of a sudden, when I get married, it's not what I thought it was going to be, so now I don't know what to do. Now I feel dissatisfied and confused, and I think I have a preference, but you don't have a preference, you have a perversion. And that perversion needs to die. So don't put that in your head, because what's going to happen is you're going to hurt the person that you love most. And not only that, like the problems that it causes dysfunction in our life. It causes us to be distracted. It causes us to be depressed. It causes us just all kinds of other dysfunction in our life. It's like, man, the enemy's primary plan in the church is for men to be addicted to that because they don't operate in authority and boldness, and they don't lead their homes. In best case scenario, they leave their homes. And then that creates a broken home. That creates a broken woman and broken kids that don't have what they need. And praise God for the church, because the church is a place where we should have men and women that step into the gap, but that doesn't always happen. That's the enemy's plan for our families. Those numbers are not fictitious. They're real. So we don't have to be afraid. We just have to be aware. Because if we know that there's a sickness, well, it makes sense for us to prepare ourselves to deal with it. So, I mean, that's what I came to tell you. The problem is big, but Jesus is bigger.